time you met someone who left an indelible mark on you. On our show today, we have a guest who has fought against many cultural biases, rejections, and reached a position where she is now. She has authored 6 books, is a renowned urban planner, sociologist, and is currently the Dean of Research and Academic Development at Kamala Raheja Vidyanidhi Institute for Architecture and Environmental Studies, KRVIA Mumbai. Please meet my guest today, Dr. Binti Singh, a research scholar, academician, and thinker. Dr. Binti Singh is also an urban sociologist and holds a PhD in urban studies and an MPhil in planning and development from the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Bombay. She is currently Dean, Research and Academic Development at KRVIA Mumbai. She is also engaged in diverse international research programs and guides PhD students in various international universities like University of Virginia, US, and the United Nations University, Japan. Welcome to LeadHers Showcase, Dr. Singh.
For inviting me.
Dr. Singh, we'll have a mix of questions for you today. Tell me, we are at an exciting and yet challenging intersection of urbanization slash modernization. We need smart and connected cities, but we are also facing the perils of climate change, frequent floods, shortage of drinking water, air pollution, increase in urban population. So how do you as an urban sociologist approach this? And how do you balance the theoretical and academic aspect with practical pulls and constraints? It's a very heavy question, I know.
Thank you for that question. It is a heavy question, but that is precisely what my research agenda is and has been for the past 10 decades or so. And that's going to be the agenda for the next 10, 20 years, my working life. My research stands at the intersection of technology, design, culture, and climate. So I am now exploring and engaging with these questions as to how technology could be best used and design could be best deployed to address some of these pressing challenges that you have listed in front of me. And climate change is real. Problems of accessibility and rising inequalities in city life is real. And address them in one way or the other. So there seems to be a dialectics between building cities of the future, which are run on dashboard governance and real-time data collection and using IoT and digital technologies. But it is also true that we have all these challenges to be addressed to. So the question is, how do we make technology equalizing? How do we actually tap on our existing resource base, which includes human capital, human resources, cultural capital, social capital, and everything else, which we already have inbuilt in our cities. Most of them are medium-sized historic cities. So we need to understand the value of it on the one hand, and adopt new technologies, advanced technologies to kind of enhance that value and address these problems at the same time. So it's an ongoing process, and the answers will not be easy. The solutions will not come very easily. We are working in our limited capacity. As a researcher, I can only tell you that in each of my books, I have tried to engage with these questions consistently, but I do have my limitations because, as you said, that I'm an urban sociologist. And so I can talk about certain aspects. I can talk about the theoretical frameworks, but I am challenged in many other aspects. I'm not a designer. I'm not a technologist. So that has to come from the other domains. But yes, how do we actually integrate all of this to make a more inclusive, sustainable society? That's the ultimate goal. I think and that's the goal not only for me, for any other urban researcher, urban stakeholder, urban practitioner, or anyone else who are engaged with these questions at this moment in time.
Understood. So basically, it's a culmination of many interdisciplinary, studies. So humanities is seen as education that does not lead to many career options. Am I right in thinking that? Because when I was growing up, it was seen as something which doesn't lead to many career options. So tell us, what are the career options in humanities and what future prospects does it open up?
I don't buy that argument that humanities is over, or it doesn't mean that technology has overpowered us and so the age of humanities and liberal arts is over. That's not the case, because I'll give you an example. In the IITs, people don't know, but since the 50s, we have departments of humanities and social sciences since their very inception. It is a known fact that technology is ultimately for the good of the people. It's for the good of the society. So that is why they humanities and social sciences department, and now we have all other kinds of disciplinary compartments, as we would like to call it, but then everything is coming together. There is a massive convergence, there's massive integration, because we know that one discipline cannot solve all the problems, or it's a very myopic way of understanding the social realities, the realities as such, because which is very, very complex, and especially in the context of the global south, the societies which are south of the hemisphere, and typically Indian society. So yes, humanities is far from over, because it's all about humanities. It's about liberal arts, because how else do you know the pulse of the people? How do you know the politicians will need us, the industry people will need us, the media and advertising people will need us, the lawyers will need us. Today, the 3D design and everybody else will need us. I mean, all you have to know, if you are an arts graduate or anything, you just have to know the creative cloud in your system. And if you are well versed, it's a skill. It's a skill. But the thinking has to come from an exposure to a variety of disciplines. And those could be liberal arts, this could be humanities subjects. So there is no way that we can forget about history, we can forget about geography, sociology, anthropology, and so on and so forth. So it's all together. It's all of this, an exposure to all these subjects that it makes you a better artist, it makes you a better architect, it makes you a better urban planner, because and it makes you a better civil engineer, for example, a better lawyer. So I don't think there is merit in that argument whoever's trying to say that humanities, the age of humanities is over. It's never over, because ultimately it's for the people. And all these pressing challenges that we are trying to uh, address or respond to, it is for the benefit of the people. So it is about people, it is about societies. To understand the market, also you need to have a sense of the socioeconomic political conditions, the culture, the cultural sensitivity. Otherwise, you will not be able to sell your product in an international market, in a globalized world.
No, I totally understand and accept your point of view. So, your own journey into humanities and academics has been far from conventional. I understand you faced massive odds along the way. Could you walk us through that journey so that it may serve as an inspiration to others?
Well, yes, why not? I was a very good student from the very beginning. So, and from class 8th or ninth, I had an inclination towards writing. So I knew that it would be a career around writing. Now, I was not sure what it would be ultimately, but my scores were very high. So, that made me, that gave me the essential impetus to pursue better and dream bigger. So, after my 12th, I'm a humanities student, and I got top scores from my school, and I got into the best college at that time in the country, Presidency College, Calcutta, sociology department. And that was it. And I mean, that was the turning point. And the subject is something that I loved, everything that I studied, I just loved it. I was passionate about the subject. I wanted to know more about it. So one thing led to another, and I pursued a master's. And then it was, I had a lot of career options. I mean, open in front of it. I was very inspired by two figures, namely Kiran Bedi and Arundhati Ghosh, if you remember. Arundhati Ghosh was instrumental in getting the CTBT signed, and she was quite a figure. And I was quite inspired by these two ladies. And that was the very year that I cleared many other exams. So I qualified for the JRF Junior Research Fellowship, which is offered by the UGC. to pursue PhD. And that was the same time that I took the entrance exam for MPhil in Planning and Development at IIT Bombay. And also at JNU for sociology, similar thing. But I didn't go for sociology. I went for the MPhil in Planning and Development, which I thought was a more professional course. And I wanted to be in Bombay because my parents were here. So for these two reasons, I chose IIT Bombay over JNU. And that was it. I mean, while doing my MPhil in Planning and Development, of course, I was exposed to a whole new sector. So this course was a very eclectic course. You know, we learned statistics, we learned economics, and everything else. And so it could be a career on in the development sector, which is NGOs and international development agencies, etc. Or it could be something to do with academics. So of course, I chose the latter because, as I said, my passion for academics overpowers everything else. So after the MPhil, I immediately enrolled for the PhD. I had to give an exam, of course, but I had the UGC scholarship. It was an integrated scholarship for 5 years. So that kind of helped me to secure a seat. So I got that, and then the rest is history, as they say. So yeah, so that is how I pursued my PhD with that scholarship. So it's the UGC scholarship that kept me, and it's IIT Gates that kept me inside the campus. And I just gave up everything else. I was happy to be in India. But yes, that was quite a journey. And after the fellowship tenure was over, I started my career with the Tata Institute of Social Sciences as a program manager. And program manager, it was a collaboration between London School of Economics and the Center for Global Governance, which was headed by Mary Kaldor at that time. And I got first-hand kind of experience to be, interact with her, and that kind of opened new doors for me. And I met many stalwarts during that course. So that's how it started. And yeah, and then I got married in between, and I was married to a government servant. I had children, and he also got us fellowships to study in Japan. So we went to Japan for a while, and we stayed there for 2 years, came back, and then I joined this college. Because I was always into this multidisciplinary kind of a mode. So I wanted to be either in a school of management or a school of law or a school of architecture. And architecture suited me best because they engage with questions of the built environment, something that I was doing from my MPhil days. So that kind of, there was a natural affinity towards it. And when I came to KRVIA for the first time, I love the space. It is so open, and it's very flexible with drawings and visuals. That kind of exposed me to a whole new world, the world of drawings and models and visuals, and the way the architects talk. It is so different from where the social scientists talk. It's very different, and I really like this environment, and that's the reason that I stayed here. But of course, I hopped cities in between. So I stayed in Delhi for a while. I stayed in Lucknow for a while, and those bouts of unemployment were the best years of my time, of my career, because those propelled me to become an author. So I was jobless. I was unemployed. I was moving around with my husband. So I had children to take care of. So I didn't have, it was like a Rowling kind of a story, So I was author by choice, because I knew that if I don't write, I'm already a researcher. If I don't put all those words into a volume or in papers, then my career is over. So it was that which kept me pushing. And while I was in Lucknow, I wrote 3 books. The Divided City, I signed my publishing agreement in 2017. And by 18 end, I had written 2 books, which was The Divided City, Ideological and Policy Contestations in Contemporary Open India, and the other book on Lucknow, ethnographic work on Lucknow called Culture, Place, Branding and Activism. And I started with my 3rd book, Smart City in India, Urban Laboratory, Trajectory or Paradigm. So that's the journey. And then I came back to Mumbai. I joined again. KRVIA was kind enough to take me back. I never left KRVIA. I was always with them. I was doing one project or the other, some writing work, and they used to call me for conferences and things like that. So that's how I kept the ties going, and with other colleges also, and some international affiliations as well. This was the time I became associate editor with a digital magazine, Oxford Urbanisation. So it is compiled by PhD students of Oxford University. university on urban issues.
Oh, what a journey. So, what would you say to somebody who feels locked into a cycle of discrimination? If they want to break out, are there any resources and support systems that they can point to?
I think the best resources and support systems are your family and your friends. So that is the first thing that you look out for. After that, in big cities, you do have good professional daycare centers, and if you are a working mother, you have those kind of support systems. And I guess you have no one to rely but yourself. At least that has been the case with me, because it was very difficult. That's all I can tell you. It has been very difficult. I did face a lot of rejections. It's not that it has been a smooth cakewalk all the way. When when I wrote the proposal, the book proposals, I sent it to Cambridge University Press, University Press, and many more. I never to hear from them. So that's kind of very disappointing for an upcoming author, for an aspiring author, because it kind of dampens your spirits completely, and you never want to write again, because you question that who am I writing for and what am I writing for? Will I ever have a career out of it? But then you have to dabble with multiple options, So that was the time that I started writing. Okay, if this is not working, I write blogs. If blogs are not working, I write for magazines. So that was the time I got little lucky. You have to have that eye to understand the opportunities that are there. Sometimes we just miss out. We just overlook. So I think the trick is not to overlook, but to turn your obstacles or constraints into opportunities. And because that is what I did, because I didn't have any other skill but writing. So I thought that, okay, why not use that? Because so if those rejections were happening in the on the book front, so I started writing a peer-reviewed journal papers based on my PhD work and some updated research. Now that also takes a lot of time. You get frustrated on the way. So I started writing blogs, small 200 word snippets. Then I was engaged with a lot of things. My writing stint actually started in Yokohama when I was with my husband. Lack of knowledge of the language, I mean, the lack of knowing the Japanese language, it's very difficult to find a job out there. It's very, very difficult. And anyway, I was there only for 2 years. So after my PhD, and that was the time that I dabbled with this writing career. And I was writing for an e-portal and things like that, notes from Japan, things like that. So a collection of essays which I've again put together. Now you have to be enterprising. I mean, you have to not give up. That is the mantra. Uh, Otherwise, it's very easy to give up. The trick is not to give up. But support system, I think support system is the networks that you make on the way. I think a very good way is a very practical way is to stay connected with everyone, and just don't become too much of a recluse and so dejected and disappointed that you give up. You never know what's going to work for you at what point in time. And that's how things unexpected turn of events happened in my life. So
No, those are really key, lessons from your journey. That what we tend to think is career is a linear path, but it never turns out to be, a linear path in reality. In reality, you have many twists and turns, and then you fall down, you face rejections, and then how you get back up and how you turn those rejections into opportunities is what one can learn from your own journey. So on a different note, we hear a lot of negative sentiments about an entitled generation of millennials or post millennials, even though they have had little part to play in some of the defining crises of our time, such as the 2008 crash or the climate change. As an educator, what is your take on our youth and their capacity for constructive change making?
I have a lot of faith in the millennials. I mean, they are my students. I interact with them. My daughter is a millennial, and I have full faith in them. And my job is just to kind of inspire them, tell them this is what it is. The future is yours. It's up to you. The choices that you have in front of you, you have to choose the right path. You do the right thing. Otherwise, it's your future that you're going to do. That's more on a philosophical note, but pedagogical level, and try to at least tell them that expose them to the various issues and challenges, and try to tell them that this is what this is the priority, and this is what things will be. And we live in an age of uncertainty. The only thing certain is uncertainty. And you have to be flexible enough. So it's just not the hardcore subject, the expertise that is important, but the softer skills, the social skills, your emotional intelligence, and all of that, which will make you into a well-rounded individual that is going to help you adapt to these changes. So you have to be flexible enough that you can adopt and you can respond to these changes, and that is the mark of success. I mean, if at all there is something called success, I don't know what success is. I'm pretty happy talking to them. I learn a lot from them because they are very smart people. They know the things on their fingertips, and they're so smart with technology, and they're intelligent on different levels. They may not be using the memory so much because they have Google for every other thing, but they are very creative. At least my students, they are very creative, they're very innovative, they're thinking out of the box. So I really have a lot of hope for these people, for the youth, and they are making Bharat as Atmanirbhar Bharat. So India is very lucky to have the demographic of India is which is very good, because then these are the people who are going to build the nation. Whereas aging societies like the Nordic countries, the Western European societies, and Japan, they have to think about providing infrastructure to an aging population, which costs society a lot. Whereas we are very lucky in India, because we have all the youth who are going to be helping us to build that infrastructure for a strong and robust nation and society.
Yeah, what a positive note, Dr. Binti Singh. That's really invigorating to hear, about our youth. Otherwise, you only hear negative things about today's, generation. So that's a very positive, take on our youth. I immensely enjoyed interacting with you today, Dr. Singh. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your insights with us. I'm sure I'm going to tie up again with you in future, and we can speak more about your field of work. And I'm particularly interested in climate crisis, how we fight that. So maybe in another session we can cover that. But that's it for today. And please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to LeadHers Showcase. Thank you, Dr. Singh, so much. Thank you again, and see you once.
Thank you.
See you all soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me and patiently hearing me out. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Take care.